usually gives us the.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of waiting on. There it is. Let us come to order. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of October. We're here at the Civic Center for our regular meeting of the Mexico Beach City Council. Please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and every blessing of life. We thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We pray that you would bless us. We take a special pause to pray for our men and women in uniform that are fighting for our privilege that we have here tonight, and also for our firefighters, our policemen, and our medics that take care of us every day here at home. Bless us, O Lord, and give us the wisdom to do the best that you see that we can do. First, in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Here.
Ms. Albright?
Here.
Mayor Bailey?
Here.
Ms. Castro?
Here.
Mr. Tindler?
Here. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see everyone here participating in the process tonight. It's a great change in our weather, except for the fish smell and the red tide that we're all barking at the parking lot. But again, I appreciate all of you coming out. Other council comments?
Yes, I wanted to announce, and I put some flyers on the piano bench back there. I'm having another coffee with council. Will probably be the last one for the year. Tuesday the 20th, I think that's actually next Tuesday, at the Civic Center here, 5:30. I'll have some refreshments. Anybody can come. You don't have to be a registered voter. You can be a property owner, a concerned renter. Doesn't really matter. Just come and we'll just talk about any new city business. And if you haven't been before, it's just me. Have time in a casual atmosphere to ask any kind of questions, raise any concerns next Tuesday. That's it.
Great.
I have a CDC report. Would you rather have it at the end or no? What's your choice?
You can have it now.
Okay. This is from CDC, the monthly report. They'd like to thank the police, ESU, and the City of Mexico Beach for the help that they did during the park concert series this year. A special thanks to Chief Norris for his staff for assisting with pedestrian traffic. They are looking to get some new and continue with our favorite bands for the Thursday nights. Also, there is a vacancy on the CDC board for tourism-related business. If you're interested in serving in that capacity, it has to be, you have to have a tourism-related business. Please contact Kimberly Schoaf at the CDC. Also, they're working on producing a destination map for 2016. And all businesses have received advertising opportunity to be in that destination map. If you chose to do that, if you choose to do that and you have not contacted CDC, please do. The cost is $125. So please stop in the Welcome Center if you'd like to be on that destination map. Thanks.
Yes.
I wanted to give an update on the beach cleanup. A few weeks ago, we had a record crowd of 93 volunteers. We collected 78 bags of trash, totaling 1,170 pounds of trash on our beach. So it was a huge success. We actually had a Girl Scout troop from Callaway, 30 Girl Scouts come over and help us clean up. So huge success this year. We do it once a year, so remember that for next year.
Good. At this time, we will entertain any citizens who would like to speak, would like to come to the podium.
My name's Joe Teal. I live at 307 Robin Lane. I've been a
permanent resident here in Mexico Beach for some 20-plus years. And I noticed on the agenda, and I guess this was discussed a little bit at the pre-agenda meeting, but there's no update or information or discussion on the 33rd, 34th Street development, and I was hoping someone on the council could bring the community up to speed on what's going on with it.
Okay. There's as you know, there's a legal issue that has to do with zoning that our city attorney is looking at. And it's in his hands right now to do some coordination directly with the potential developer's attorney to get those legal issues resolved.
Now, when you say there's a zoning issue, is there any issue of the PUD status being discussed by the attorney?
Yes?
So neither of those issues have been put to rest.
That's correct.
Okay, and I'd like to ask, I also happen to be on the Planning and Zoning Board, and I don't know how much, I know you all know, and you've received dozens of emails, as has the Planning Board, of people, and I have yet to get one, and I don't know if anyone else has, about anyone that's in favor of this. I'd like to suggest, because you all are the representatives of the people in this community, that perhaps at City Hall, a board could be designated for citizens to come in and put their name and their address and say whether or not they're for, against, or indifferent about this particular project, because it's my belief from the information that I've been exposed to that a large majority of our citizens do not want this project. And whether it's legal or not, I feel like it's still the council's obligation to do the bidding of the people.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Mike Rupato. I own the property at 3201 Highway 98, Unit D. I don't know this gentleman, but I feel the same way. I am not a resident owner, but I pay the same taxes, the same water, same trash pickup as everybody else in here. And I feel, one, that there's been a lack of information made available to everybody in general. I mean, where I come from, one single sign, blue plywood spray painted sign on a road, doesn't adequately communicate to the community what's going on with that property, something that's very important to the property. I also feel like that on the back of my water bill every month and my trash bill, even when I'm not down here and I'm not using water or trash, that there's not adequate representation of what's going on within this community that affects my ownership or my desire to continue to be an owner moving forward. So I think something of this magnitude should have been communicated by the council, by the zoning commission, to the tax records of holders by you all. The way I learned about it was through a gentleman, I believe his name is John Hill, who hired an attorney to investigate based on previous meetings, PUD, everything else that was evaluated, the legality of this proposed development. I learned about it from a lawyer who then sent out this information to every tax record to every taxpayer of record. That's not the way I want to be communicated with as an owner of property in Mexico Beach. All right, I think there is a way to improve that. That's issue one. I'm working with at least 20 other property owners that we've communicated with, emails, etc., that are going to work towards forming a community homeowners group so that we can share that information if we're not getting it from you. All right, as to the development, I'm scared that a decision like that lays within the decision of 5 people. Elected officials, I understand, but maybe those that haven't sought complete input from all their stakeholders, whether they're present or not. From elected officials that all put signs in my yard during the last election without my permission, okay, but yet ran on the premise that they were representing me. I need to have more information. We all need to have more information. All right. If it means a separate letter or email sent out, if an opposing attorney can do that, I don't know why the city council can't do that in addition to our monthly water trash bill. Second, when it comes to this development, Mexico Beach is going to grow. I hope it does. I'm not an investor. I want to retire here. I don't care whether my property value goes up or not. What I care about is that the Mexico Beach I bought into continues to be Mexico Beach. You all can do that. We can develop this community with developers that meet our criteria. They don't come in going, I'd like to invest in Mexico Beach if you'll make these changes, which is what we've been asked to do. Height requirements, PUD requirements, zoning requirements. I think that the way that the market is improving, if we're just patient, if you all are just patient, there will be developers that are willing to come in and say, I love Mexico Beach for what it is. I don't want to change anything. I'll build it to a height so that I, Mike Ripito, can see the Gulf like I see right now, not being blocked by an additional 2 stories. All right. I'm sorry, property issues shouldn't be this emotional. Mexico Beach is. You all need to communicate with us. All right. You all need to get our feelings. This can't be done in a closet. This can't be done with one plywood blue spray painted sign on Highway 98. Okay? We, as the group I'm going to try to form, not head, I haven't been asked for that. I don't propose to be that. But are going to try to work together with you all to make sure this, because this won't be the first time. There are going to be developers out the wazoo coming in wanting to turn Mexico Beach into Panama City, Destin, pick your city up and down the beach. All right. Those that say that change is inevitable are pretty much right. Okay. But change is controllable. And it is you all that can control how we grow Mexico Beach. All right, there's no crisis right now that says we need to give in to the demands of this developer. And I don't know if there's a time limit. I'll try to be quick. Okay, so I think at best what we need to do is go back to the developer and say, what are you doing for Mexico Beach? Number 1, get it below the height limit. If we want to do rezoning, let's do rezoning, but let's get it below the height limit so that people like me and everybody else out here at least go, all right, well, it's going to impact traffic, but not my ability to see the beach, that sort of stuff. Number 2, get them to put some more skin in the game. All right, it's going to be a traffic nightmare. Get them to put a turning lane in, sidewalks in.
I've given you quite a bit of latitude.
I'm sorry. Okay.
And I'm not looking to cut anybody off, but we do have rules.
I understand.
We understand your positions, and I can assure you of 2 things. There's nothing being done in the dark, and all the requirements of our regulations will be met.
Yeah.
Okay?
Can I add something?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to just add something. Appreciate your comments. Communication has always been an issue here. It's really
Okay.
hard to get information out unless you're, able to come to every meeting, and
Right.
it is very difficult. However, I don't know if you're going to be here next Tuesday, but I will have my coffee with council, and that's a really good time to keep up on the issues. All of our emails are on the city website. I have people email me every day, and
Okay.
I email them back. So that's another good way to, to keep up.
I
Because
appreciate
I will
that.
try to keep people.
I just, in clicking on the links for the proposed hotel development,
Right.
all we got was, and I'm an engineer, a developer, all we got was plans and specs, not feelings. But I appreciate that. And thank you.
Thank you. Are there others? Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
My name is Janice Maxwell. I was at the meeting last week, so I'm not going to have very much to say, but y'all were not there. I made my statement pretty briefly, but I wanted to be able to say something tonight that I am very opposed to that development. It is right across the street from my house on 33rd Street. It's much bigger as far as I'm concerned. The density ratio to the property is way out of the range of what looks like in the LDR. It's supposed to be 5 acres for PUD. There's a lot of issues there that concern me, and I know there's been previous hearings about this, apparently, that we were not involved in, but we are very opposed, and everyone on 33rd that I've talked to is very opposed to this proposal, the way it has been presented, the size of it. There's one of the things in the PUD and in all of the zoning requirements says it should be safe for pedestrians and the traffic should be safe. And that road won't even handle what we have today. It's so small. With the setback being 7.5 feet, I understand, from the road, which is about 12 feet, it will be right at my door, really. And the way I see that development, it's just one big hotel that goes from 98 all the way back to the waterfront. It'd be just a solid wall, about 45 feet high, and for all the residents on 33rd and 34th. And the entryway for parking is just like a big parking garage with a ramp that's going to go right in the middle of my house and someone else's next door. But I'm very concerned about those issues, and those, I hope, regardless of what happens with this particular proposal, if it's does not meet requirements, which I hope it doesn't because of all the issues and legalities, I hope that we can put something in there that's consistent with the residential development, not something that's more commercial, high-rise. Because we love the small Mexico Beach, and we want people to be safe walking down the street to go to the beach, including me and my children, grandchildren. So thank you for listening to what I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have the minutes from all the meetings that we've had since our last regular communication. Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion and second. Call roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
Right, scheduled appearances. The FRDAP grant presentation. City Administrator.
Your Honor,
Mr. Menke.
we have in the audience someone in a nice, sharp uniform. And I'm not talking about Mr. Guilford, unfortunately. But Mark Napke is here from the state. He's going to present the city with a check that is probably not cashable, but nonetheless a ceremonial check for the two $50,000 grants for FERDAP that we'd received for the Under the Palms Park as well as the municipal park. So I'm going to take his camera and try to work it while you get the check, if you would, Your Honor. Monkey with a new toy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, council members, for allowing me to present this important grant to your community. The DEP is proud to administer a program called Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program. This program is a competitive grant program, and this year DEP has invested in more than $5.4 million in 110 development projects throughout Florida. Today I have the honor to present to your community a grant check for $100,000 for Mexico Municipal Park and Under the Palms Park. Funds will be used to construct or develop playgrounds, multi-use trail, and other park amenities.
Speaking of Pebble Ridge, you're up. Thank you.
Good evening, Elizabeth with Preble Rish, to give you all an update on our current project. Let's see, our alternate water source project, we're moving forward. I will admittedly slowly. We've been working on some other things for you all, but that is still in progress. Our canal, did you have a question about that? No. Our canal improvements project, as discussed at the last workshop, I apologize I was not able to attend. We did bring you the draft construction drawings and specifications that incorporate the changes or the attributes that were discussed. So those have been included in that in the submittal we've given you today. We've also given you 11 by 17 drawings. As we said, these will be available at City Hall. If the 11 by 17 drawings you all have are impossible to read because they're so small, I understand, just call us, we can bring some more. But also sets will be available at City Hall. So, and are there any questions on the canal improvements project at this time?
I have one very basic question. Do these drawings incorporate the various types of, let me rephrase. I understand this is the bid for the whole project with the ability to take out parts.
That's correct.
As we're able to fund the entire project.
That's correct.
And these drawings represent the changes necessary to do that?
Yes,
for
sir.
the bidders?
Yes, sir. We included several alternates, and that includes several alternate materials, several alternate amenities, and we also, the parts that we felt like we could have some leeway on, we included those as unit prices, so that should we need to scale those back, we can. We also included a schedule of values, so that if the bids do come in high, we can look at some of the schedule of values to determine where we can reduce scope a little bit, so that the bids will come in within budget.
When will these go out?
Well, that's a little bit up to y'all to decide. What we're just looking at the schedule. What we could do is advertise around the 27th. That would mean that we would open them at the end of November, and then that would be in time with your December meeting. So that would give that, just starting with your December meeting and then backing up. That's kind of, we ended up maybe about October 27th to actually advertise them.
That means you need a vote tonight.
Or
a special meeting, because I don't think we meet again.
And that's up to you all to decide. If you're comfortable with moving forward with it tonight, then that's the schedule that we would recommend. If you all want some time to digest the plans a little bit and to talk with us a little bit more about the plans, then we can do that and then bring it back at the next meeting, and we can just push this back 2 weeks or however long you want to have a special meeting to award the bids.
I prefer to have some time to look at them.
I think we've talked about it a lot. Don't talk about it enough. We've made a lot of changes, and it's going to be bid with the option to make even more changes as we go along. So I think I'm ready to try to get the bricks on the water, or whatever you want to call it.
I agree with Jeff.
I'm comfortable moving on tonight, but if we do take more time, let's set a special meeting now, because if we wait until November, everything is being pushed back another month.
Yes.
So if we decide to take more time, let's set a special meeting that we will discuss this and only this, so that we can move forward.
I will say that you do have, if we go forward on October 27th, you have between now and October 27th to make any comments. And also, even after we advertise it, we can modify the plans through addendum if we need to. So that's another option.
I also am in favor of going for bids. And the chair will entertain a motion to put this out for bids.
Make a motion to go ahead and get the canal project out on bid, and let's see how we can move forward.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second.
So your plan is to put it out for bid October 27th. The bids will be due
The end of November, about a 30-day.
the end of November, and then award it just our first meeting in December.
Yes.
Okay, and you said, since I don't have time to look at anything now, to see what kind of changes between now and the 27th, if I have a question, I mean, you're not going to change a plan, but I can ask questions.
Well, and, you know, it's if it's something that, you know, we can bring it back to the council, and if it's something that needs to be changed, we can change it, like I said, as a change order or something like that. So, I mean, if you have any questions, both Dina and I are absolutely available. Dina has waded knee-deep into these drawings and is extremely familiar with them. And we can get together with you and go over them, even if you'd like, just even as a one-on-one with each of the council members, that would be fine too.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other question from the council? Is there any question from the citizens?
On the canal plan, were those extras, boat slips, were they eliminated from the plan that you own down where our tourists do all of the fishing? Were they eliminated from the plan as we requested?
I believe that he's talking about the right there near the pavilion. We eliminated those, correct?
No, you're talking about there at Salt Creek.
I'm talking about down on the side, how they,
Further
boat
down.
slips where you can go dig back and put them in side by side.
Where we had the parallel.
Okay, the parallel slips, yes, have been eliminated. Yes.
The parallel slips are still going to be there, right? But not-
No.
I think the answer to your question is yes. There's some other slips that are further along, but again, we can get together with you and show you exactly what we're talking about to make sure that we're all on the same page with that.
Okay, please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
No.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
That's a very important milestone over the last 6 years.
Now you got a parallel parking. And you don't get-
And another project, our Northwest Florida Water Management District Stormwater Project. Actually, since we printed this and sent it to the city, our updates, the box was supposed to be delivered this week. We have now found out the manufacturer has pushed our delivery date back even further to the 22nd. We've actually called Northwest Florida Water Management District to get involved to help us get this project finished. And they are actually helping us. They're working with the manufacturer as well. They're saying now the baffle box will be delivered the 22nd, but maybe as late as the 27th. So we'll keep y'all updated on that. That is not the contractor's fault. It's not our fault. The submittals were approved shortly after construction began. The company that manufactures them, however, is dragging their feet somewhat, and this is the manufacturer that was recommended. So so it should be then. They demobilized, the contractor demobilized, waiting for the baffle boxes to be delivered. They still have some final grading and some final cleanup to do. So if you see that out there but you don't see the contractor, it's not because they've quit and that they're finished. It's just that they're waiting to remobilize to come back down and finish the project when the baffle boxes arrive. So we're still working on that one.
Is that the last step? Is that
The
last
baffle
step
box,
with it?
baffle box and the cleanup, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
And still, they're on the same timeline? Wasn't that November or something?
We're still within the approved timeframe for the change order, with the change orders, but we're cutting it close at this point. Let's see, Stormwater Master Plan, we have submitted the project to SRF for funding. I don't know that grant funds are going to be available, however, through that funding source, but we've also submitted this, your Stormwater Master Plan improvements to Northwest Florida Water Management District. So we're still trying to get funding for that, we just don't have that yet. City Hall at Municipal Park, we're on hold. 24th Street paving, we are still waiting on that DEP permit. They have promised us by Friday, I think. We'll see. So we're working, we harass them regularly. Dina does for me. Just some quick updates on this. We have submitted some additional grant applications, including your wastewater rehabilitation project. We submitted that to SRF as well. As I said, I'm not sure that the grant funds are going to be available as we hoped they were originally, but we have submitted that package for you. The local government funding request, that one is for the sand bypassing project. Whenever we had talked before, I was hoping I could get some equipment for the city to assist you all so that whenever you want to dredge the canal, you aren't tied only to a barge-mounted dredge, that you might be able to come in and buy some equipment that would be less subject to weather. However, they came back, despite their initial interpretation, they came back and said we could not buy equipment with that. However, they said that we could do annual project, actually hire a contractor to come in and dredge the sand trap area, that big sand trap area to the west. So we modified the grant application for that, and we're waiting to hear. And that is a 75%, 25%, 75% grant, 25% city match. So that would be a significant amount of money. The last one that we have submitted, we did submit your beautification grant to DOT, and so we're waiting to hear from that.
Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, who is representing the fire department?
There would be no one, Your Honor.
In that case, we're moving right ahead. Okay, the next on the agenda is a second reading of ordinance 623. Motion to read ordinance 623 by title only. The motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Please read the title of ordinance 623.
Ordinance number 623, an ordinance reestablishing a sanitation service in the city of Mexico Beach, prescribing certain user fee charges imposed for the purpose of funding said service, providing collection practices, amending and repealing ordinance number 609, and repealing any parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing penalties for violations thereof, and providing an effective date.
Is there any discussion about this ordinance? Okay, a motion to adopt ordinance 623.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
Next thing on the agenda is ordinance 625. Need a motion to read ordinance 625 by title only.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Please read the title, ordinance 625.
Ordinance number 625, an ordinance amending ordinance number 618, adjusting the current rates to be charged for the use of the municipal water sewer system for the service inside and outside the city limits of Mexico Beach, allowing for a senior citizen discount and vacant lot rates, repealing ordinances and/or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, and providing an effective date.
Is there any conversation about this? Okay, please call the roll. No, I'm sorry, motion to adopt.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Now call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item of business on the agenda is our health insurance. Tonight, I believe we're supposed to vote to adopt a plan. Have the employees had an opportunity to review the alternate proposal?
Indeed, they have, Your Honor. You spoke with them more than I have. You can go over that. Absolutely.
Try to keep it fairly short. Bottom line is, the staff would love to keep Blue Cross and Blue Shield. They would love to keep the exact same plan that they have now. But having said that, we all understand, and if we need to go down to that next step below, to that, the one under the one we have now, everybody's in favor of that. First choice would be the plan that we have now. Second choice, the 14056 plan.
Which is just a little bit cheaper.
For the employee only, it's a little bit cheaper, but when you get to employee spouse, employee children, employee family, there's, you start saving a little more money. If it gets up to around $300, you start saving.
Mel, do you have a recommendation?
Was that the 14056 or 1405? That's 14054. Okay.
56. That's the only other option we have with the other one. Is this the one we have now? Well, maybe I got the number wrong.
1405. Yeah, it's 14054 is what I've understood from the employees that they wish. Numbers are too similar here.
The 14054?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not the one they have today, that's the
The one we have now is a 5467.
So they've selected the.
Cadillac plan.
And how does the 14054 fall into the budget?
Well, unfortunately, it whittles it down a bit from our current 18%. But nonetheless, this is what the employees wanted in lieu of anything else. This saves us about $14 per single coverage. 25% of that on the employee side isn't a whole lot, 75% isn't a whole lot. Question was,
The 14054, does that come out, okay, 548. The city would, you're saying that would only save us 14, okay, from the Cadillac plan projected, not from this year.
when you say Cadillac,
Well,
what you got there at the bottom is the difference.
right.
So the one that they have now is an 18% increase.
Right.
And the one that they're recommending is a little less than an 18% increase.
Correct.
For single coverage, it is 16%. For employee and spouse, it is negative 3%. For employee and children, it is 14%. And for family coverage, it would be 4%.
I guess I'm confused. I thought that we would be looking at plans that fall within the budget, not that it was wide open, that you could pick any plan regardless of cost. I thought that we were still trying to keep it within the budget. And the first meeting we had plans presented that could do that. So I mean,
Well, if we went to the 15105, that would do that. It increases the deductible from 1,500 to 2,000. The co-pays are very similar. Then the single amount is down to 661.13. So if you want to be totally complete within our budget, that would be the way to go.
So it's the number 3 choice out of those last 4 that you presented with the Blue Cross Blue Shield?
It is the blue one on the right, which is number 3 right of what we've got now.
I think with a negative 3% increase on employee and spouse, which is the majority of our staff, I think it's going to be within budget on that second one. I can't say for sure because I didn't crunch it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be close.
I think that the second one, the 14056, is going to be real close to budget, and it's not quite as drastic as the other one in the pocketbook.
It's actually going to be more drastic on the
Yeah.
co-insurance on the top. It's 50% instead of 20.
But it's once you reach the out of pocket here, that's the end of it. The out of pocket's not going up much, not as much as the other, the third one over. 15105.
But after the deductible, you're still going 50% after they meet the deductible.
And that's heading towards your out-of-pocket maximum. Once you hit the out-of-pocket maximum, I believe they all go to 100% at that point.
Are you talking about the 50% here, Linda, at the bottom?
No, oh, I was looking at the different one.
Up here too.
No, they're all 50% across there. Can we afford the 14054?
This page that y'all are looking at right here, that everybody's looking at, this is what we got from the insurance company. This is the only thing that we got from the insurance company. So based off of this one sheet that we got to sit down and read, not the majority, the entire city staff would like to keep the one that we have or the 14054 plan. Obviously, it's up to you guys, but I was asked to find out what everybody wanted, and this is what everybody wants.
You know, during our budget meetings, it was brought up many times that we value our employees and we can't give them high pay because we don't have it, and other cities can. And there were a number of other items that we can't do for our employees, and we did try during our budget, how can we make it so that they want to stay? And if we can come pretty close to what we budgeted, I'm all in favor of the 14054.
I believe we discussed because of the 18%, that we did have some money available to cover that this year. I believe it was BP money was said, well, we got that unexpected gift. We can apply that to the insurance increase in costs and be able to be all right. So the second one is a lot better than the third one.
And the second one is very, very comparable.
Very similar, but the prices are about the same too. Doesn't this one also add in some of the new ADA requirements that actually helps the coverage improve?
I couldn't tell you with any certainty because this is all we
I
got.
believe if the other one was grandfathered, if you want to stick with the one you got, everything stays the same because you're grandfathered in. But if you go to this new one, some increase, you got 18 staying where you are. So if this one here is only maybe 15, you have some additional costs here and there, but you have the ADA gives many new benefits that aren't in the grandfather policy. I mean, there's I can't go. He went over them, and there was a big old list. No rejections, no referrals, type of thing. I don't know. There's a whole lot of things he went over that come with going to the new plan rather than the grandfather. So.
And everybody understood that. The staff who was here, who got to listen to it all, understood it, and we all went back, we discussed it. Of course, like I said, we'd love to keep the one we have, but the 14054 is a very comparable plan who everybody would be more than comfortable to go to.
And y'all are being very patient. We appreciate that. Just a brief explanation. We had an 18% increase basically across the board on our health insurance program for our city employees. It was not experience driven at all. We had a -1 experience factor. It's all market driven. All cost funding, you can call it anything you like, Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, but it's mandates that we have to meet for health care coverage, and we're trying to do the best we can and stay within the budget factor figure we already came up with. We'd already done the budget by the time the insurance quote came in, and our plus up wasn't enough to cover it, and that's what we're trying to resolve, because this is big money. We need to make sure that we're doing the best we can by both our citizens and our employees.
Keep in mind that when the agent first came and talked to us, he said the reason you had that huge lift is you're still on that grandfather plan. You're on that grandfather plan, you can keep it, that's what really drove that big lift. I agree, if we can give them the second plan they picked and keep it close to budget, I'm comfortable with that. I just think you guys you don't know what you're missing if you stick with the plan you have.
We don't know we don't know what we would get either.
Well, he laid it all out in the meeting, but he should have sent you guys, he was supposed to send you the details on what.
This is what he sent us.
But I can tell you from what we heard that night, you don't want to stay on the plan you have because you're missing out.
There's like 5 or 6 different categories that the new plan just kind of gives you. They're not really specified in here.
Assuming
but
nobody,
but they're actually in the overall thing, they're pretty good for you.
Assuming nobody changes coverage from what we have currently, it's within the 10% going to that one, the budget amount.
That's a pretty easy question.
It's no brainer.
Okay, well, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the insurance plan 14054.
I'll make a motion to adopt Blue Options 14054. Second.
So a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Outstanding.
Sorry it took me a second.
We appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Cathy Construction invoice. This has been an outstanding invoice for quite some time. The chair will entertain a motion of an amount to settle this invoice with Cathy Construction.
All right, you want somebody to speak this, the silence is deafening.
Either we're going to
Right.
vote on this or we're not. And I have to have a motion in a second.
Well, wouldn't it be a good idea? I don't know. Do you think that, we cannot vote on it, but,
What would be appropriate if the board were to make a motion for an amount, and then once the first and second is approved, then you have discussion of whether you agree with that or not?
And it's also appropriate, if you don't like that amount, to make a motion to amend the amount by a different amount. And then we will vote on that amount first to clear the amendment.
well, go ahead.
I'll jump in and say that I don't think anyone sitting behind this table wants to pay another dime. I think that's pretty clear. We don't feel like anybody deserves another cent on this project. And it actually makes me angry that we have to spend more money on this. But we had our attorney at the workshop, and his recommendation is that we settle it. And so we've talked about it a lot, and in order to settle it, we've got to come back with a number, we've got to negotiate and come back with a number. I know the number that the mayor threw out in the workshop was $22,000, which meets them in the middle. And as much as I hate that we've got to spend another dime on that, I think that based on what the attorney told us, it's the less risky proposition for taxpayer money. So.
I didn't hear the recommendation of
We
the
didn't.
attorney to
Well,
to
remember
settle,
when the mayor said what the previous council members had told him? The attorney said, well, that changes things.
Yeah, that to me is not a recommendation to give him more money, but
Do you want us to discuss now, or? Okay,
Yeah, because
okay.
we-
My concern
the
is
agenda.
if we offer him 22, who's to say that Mr. Cathy would say, nope, I'm not going to take the 22, I wanted the 30, and that's it, and so we're back in the same ballgame. And our concern is that if we continue with the 10, it is a risk because he could still take us to court. But if we offered him 22, that risk is still there because he did not say, well, you come up, let's meet halfway. He just offered us, he deleted 12,000 and said, I'll settle for 30. He did not say, I'll settle for 22. So we're still at a risk if we go up to 22.
Well, the risk is no different. They either accept it or not, and if we as a council agree that that's it, no more. If he doesn't accept it, then the risk is no different than if we leave it at 10 or we move it to 22. Either way, the risk is the same.
Well, the council can certainly make a motion that we make a final offer of X amount, for it to be more clear.
We offered 10, they came back 30. If we meet them in the middle, maybe that'll wrap it up.
I think if we don't offer something that we would be negligent in trying to settle this claim. Offering him the same thing again is not negotiating.
If I can just put in my 2 cents, you know, we keep acting like we've never paid him anything. We paid $150,000, $149,000, just shy of $150,000 for his work. He paid Driggers $24,400, he paid Collins Architect $54,600. That leaves $70,000, almost $70,100 that we paid to Kathy Construction for his work for us. It's not like we didn't pay him.
Isn't that $70,000 for demolition services? Taking it apart for the insurance settlement and then demolishing the thing, isn't that what that's 70 for?
Well, that's what he claimed, $70,000 to demolish a building.
Well, keep in mind, Mary, that wasn't just what he claimed, that's what the insurance company estimated and approved. So, I mean, you have to look at it from that standpoint. I mean, it was, we didn't decide on the numbers. The insurance company decided on the numbers. Not that I disagree that that was an enormous amount of money to take down a building.
Okay, is there a motion to settle this invoice by offering an alternate amount of money than we've offered Mr. Kathy before?
I'll make the same motion that I made months ago, and the same motion that's been recommended, and that's, I would recommend that we meet him in the middle at $22,000 and move this thing forward and stop talking about it.
Okay, we have a motion to offer $22,000 in settlement. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I think we've already discussed it to death, but does anybody else want to say anything else before we do it? We'll try again. Call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn.
No.
Ms. Albrecht.
No.
Mayor Bailey.
Yes.
Ms. Castro.
Yes.
Mr. Tindler.
With prejudice, yes.
Please send a letter to Kathy Construction. We didn't put the word final in the motion, but please discuss that. Next item on the agenda, something nice. We have in our budget, and we have accrued funds to buy some new equipment for the city that's much needed. And these things are on separate lines, so we're going to vote on them separately, are we not? We are. The first is to award the state bid for a backhoe for the public works. Yes, sir.
If I, just real quick, if I may, you'll notice there on your papers, I kind of jotted down on all the Beard equipment stuff, the John Deere stuff. Backhoe stays the same. Lawnmower went up $209.58, but the utility tractor went down $2,332.64. Now with the truck, it went up $2,017, I think it was. I didn't write it on here, but with the drop of the utility tractor, we're actually still saving a little bit of money. So even with the increase, that one decrease, I don't know where it was off the top of my head, but we are saving. We're not spending as much as we originally budgeted.
Okay. Any conversation about the backhoe? Motion to award the state bid for the backhoe?
I make a motion to give the state the bid for the backhoe.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn.
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mayor Bailey.
Yes.
Ms. Castro.
Yes.
Mr. Tindler.
Yes.
Okay. The next item is a lawnmower, exactly the same process. It's a John Deere 930M, is on state contract. It's exactly like the last one we bought. A motion to accept the bid for the lawnmower.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn.
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mayor Bailey.
Yes.
Ms. Castro.
Yes.
Mr. Tindler.
Yes.
Same type situation for a John Deere tractor, 100 horsepower, exactly like the one that we used to rake the beach with. This will be our second tractor in the fleet to replace aging equipment.
This one has a PTO.
Yes. It does, and it hooks up to the sidearm mower and
Sidearm mower, beach rake, whatever,
whatever we hook it
whatever you need
to.
a PTO gear for.
So just remind me, I know we were in talk to the CDC. They don't know if they can help us with this or not until January, February. So if they do, if they're able to help us, are they going to help us if we buy it now? And
Could reimburse you.
they would reimburse us, they will do that?
And the money put back in the same fund we're getting it from.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as that's, they know they would be reimbursing us and they're okay with that.
Okay. Motion to accept the bid on the tractor.
So moved?
Have a motion and a second, please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
Next one's a public works vehicle. Same situation, on state bid. This is a pickup truck for Philip, Public Works Director. Motion to accept the bid.
So moved?
Second?
A motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
No.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindler?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Parker Property Park City Administrator. Well, hiring a planner.
Well, Your Honor, at the last meeting, we had an individual to come before the board to ask if there was any questions about their proposal. That's for $2,500 that would be worked through Rebel Ridge for the honor of having someone do a professional plan for our Parker Park. On that note, it's up to the city council whether or not they wish to pursue that contract.
Discussion.
Discussion first?
Personally, I didn't like the proposal. It wasn't specific enough, and it said it was going to give us the same things that we have. So I wasn't impressed with the proposal.
We have two professional planners who've offered to work for our park for free.
Yeah.
Pro bono. So, I believe they would be willing to work with Rebel Ridge also on the side, so I don't think we need to spend $2,500 more dollars.
Who are the two professional planners who have agreed to do a
We've
professional?
already got two, well, it's professional, yeah. Mary's got the names.
This is one of them that did this.
Well, yeah, and I think he's done what he's going to do for free. I haven't talked to him since he gave me that plan, simply because, this is what he came up with. I like it, but I know that there was problems with the circular drive. I know it doesn't account for a lot more parking. He didn't want to fill up a park with parking. He didn't think it was a parking lot, but a park. So that's what he came up with. I haven't talked to him since he gave us this. I don't know if there's anything, if you're going to change it, then I'm assuming then he would need to do more work. I don't know what the engineering services has to do. If they're given this, can they engineer the road? I'm assuming from you guys that you're not 100% sold on this particular plan. So,
Well, here's what I understood. First of all, that's a Georgia landscape architect,
It
not
is?
licensed in Florida. Have they ever been on the property?
yes.
They've been on the property. What we were doing, my understanding, that original draft was just to put something on paper for us to begin the discussions, just to pull it all together. My understanding, it was never intended because no one provided feedback on that original one. You brought it to us, your feedback only. No one on the council, no one in the public, none of the bordering property owners, no one had a voice in that. It was just something to start the discussion. It's not the plan that we've agreed to. We've never adopted that plan. We've never even explored the feasibility of it. I do know that there are some things in the plan that won't work. You can't excavate that soil 7-9 feet deep for an amphitheater because you're going to hit water. There's some concerns I have. We're talking about a park that, by the time this is over with, we're gonna have $1 million+ of your money invested in this park. It's going to significantly impact the quality of life of the bordering neighbors. And for us to think that a real estate agent, a retired educator, a lawn service company owner, an IT consultant, and a retired small business owner can plan a park, it's way above our pay grade. And I think $2,500 is a small price to pay to have $1 million project done right. I think we've got to have someone who can look at traffic flow, noise. I asked the attorney to review the contract. He said this was a standard, basic. He had no concerns with it. It was a pretty standard, straightforward contract. Now, she's doing quite a few things that we haven't done. I mean, we haven't done a site analysis. We haven't looked at site conditions. We haven't done any of the things that coordinate on the viable uses, the construction budget, providing a conceptual master plan. She even said that she would be putting it in a way that we could phase it in over time as we have the money. So I think $2,500 is pocket change when you talk about what this property is going to be long-term and the effect it has on the owners. The surrounding property owners deserve that we do this right and we do this professionally. And I can't even believe we're even questioning having a professional park planner plan that park.
I do agree. This plan here was to just get it on the table and let's move forward. Just kind of an instigator to proceed. I think it did that. As far as the noise study, not sure that we need that, considering that, you know, we've used the park 4 times a year. It's at Sunset Park. We've never done a noise study there. That being said, I do think there are things that are, you know, certainly out of our expertise. It's not a real big deal to put a pavilion somewhere, but we do want it to be professionally done. We do want it to be coordinated and not just slap this here and slap that there. As far as the adjacent property owners, there's adjacent property owners to everything that's done here. So there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like something that we put next to them. We can't change the city based on adjacent property owners. That being said, I do think, I agree. I agree we need some professional help in this. I don't know the difference between what this lady is proposing and doing and some of the engineering work. I don't quite understand that, but because the last time I asked, you know, I asked if she had anything to do with the road, and she said she would coordinate with the engineering. So,
Well, I think that the $2,500 would be money well spent. I think that this plan is great, but who's to say that that land at that, where that pavilion site is on this map, is the best place to hold that large facility? And I think as she looks it over, one of the ideas that we were talking about was a splash pad, and that was after the fact that this drawing, that's not even on here. And I think that if all 5 of us get together and say, well, we want this and we want this, it would take us about 1.5 years to get anything settled. Because our ideas are wonderful, let's face it, but to come to consensus for each individual item, we think the City Hall or the canal has taken a long time. So that's why I really think our time, and I haven't spent as much time on it, I know, as the mayor has, definitely. But I think our time is worth money. And I think $2,500 is a drop in the bucket. And it can be professional. And I did email Gina and just wanted to make sure that I understood what that letter was all about, that she had a proposal. And she's going to give us some good estimates, and then we can take it from there. We have $100,000 to start with. What do we need? And hopefully, the five of us can come up to some consensus in a short period of time, what is absolutely necessary to function. So I'm all for the 2,500.
It's not outside of my pay grade to plan a park. It's not that hard. But having said that, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the planner's proposal.
I'll make a motion that we accept Tulio Planning Group's proposal of $2,500 to plan the park.
Okay, is there a second?
Preparation.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Black?
Oops, go
I have a
ahead.
question. Can we put in, or should we put in a time span that we would like something back from
I
her?
was just going to ask about that. I don't see a time.
I mean, what is that a normal request? Or just leave it open-ended and she comes back in 6 months? Or can we say,
Yeah, I agree.
can we say, can you give us a monthly report as to where you're at on this?
She mentions the monthly report in the proposal, but I think there should be a drop dead to get finished. We'll never move forward if we don't get finished with this.
Well, I don't know, if she's coordinating with Preble Rouge, I mean, there's two parties there who have a deadline, so.
What you could do is just make it contingent on an acceptable timeframe. I don't know how long it would take her to lay it out, but I could find out, and we could get that back to the city administrator if it's an acceptable timeframe. So you just make your motion contingent on an acceptable timeframe. I can't imagine it'd take more than 60 days to lay that out. I
Okay.
imagine it's gonna be closer to 30, but I don't know that for sure.
So do you want me to change that motion?
Would you like to amend your motion to add a timeline?
Yeah, would that make you guys more?
Yeah, I think so.
Then I'll amend my motion to add a timeline of 60 days from the date the agreement is executed, signed.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindall?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is actually naming the park. During the workshop, that we talked about this several times. This piece of property has been called a lot of things. We would solicit input from all the citizens of Mexico Beach to provide input to naming this park to the city hall. There's also, it's also going to go out on next month's water bill to inform the citizens who are not here, or the property owners who are not here about this, and all that input will be provided back to City Hall. And then the council will have the dubious task of figuring out what the most appropriate name for the park is going to be. Anyone else want to comment about that?
Will there be an ending date whereby the suggestions need to be turned in? If
So water bills go out
the
when?
water bills go out when?
The first, and they have to be back by the 20th of November,
So they go out by the 20th of November, so
about the end of November.
Can't we just say 60 days, make it the same as the planner?
That would work fine
that's
too.
fine. 60 days from the water bill or 60 days?
On today.
Okay.
Okay. To me, this is a formality, but the council has not voted to make this city property a park, and I think it's appropriate that we do that. Right now, this property is in 3 separate zoning classifications, all which will accommodate a recreational facility. Is there a motion to designate this property, formerly known as the Parker property, as a park?
I make that motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindall?
Yes.
Great. City Hall, Mel?
Well, Your Honor, recall that we had an incident where, for whatever reason, the modular building owner didn't get proper information to one of the subcontractors about the roof, which necessitated an increase of $60,000 to our bid. And I think it was the intent of this particular board to go ahead and reconsider that modular bid and take it away from him.
Okay. At our workshop, we talked about a loss of confidence in this particular contractor, not necessarily in the building, but in the contractor. His failure to give us an appropriate bid. Chair will entertain a motion to reconsider awarding this bid to that contractor.
I'm not sure I understand them.
Will we go out? Here's my question. I would like to see, we have some other options, like the property next door, which allows some future expansion. We can go back to finishing the second floor out on the other end of the spectrum. And if we're going to go out for a building bid, why can't we make, and we have a construction specialist in the back there, that have the bid, we want your proposal to have a building with 8 offices and a conference room and 2 bathrooms and whatever we want. And they all get the same spec, and we want it to be 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, or whatever this is. We decide on, here's what we want, and then it could be a metal builder, it could be a modular builder, it could be a stick-built builder, it could be anybody, the ICF. They all bid, and then we compare the bids and decide which one to do, rather than go through the steel, go through the modular, go through, we're reinventing, we're starting at square one. I'm trying to condense it into one bid instead of all of a sudden. I'm tired of it.
Point of clarification, a motion to reconsider is simply a motion to say, we voted on this before in the affirmative, and now we're taking that vote back or changing it. That's all that I asked for in at this particular time.
So we were retracting.
We're retracting an acceptance.
You make a motion to retract that offer that we made because of the bidding, pricing error.
Good.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blackburn?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Tindall?
Yes.
There's much discussion still be had about the City Hall. We've already started in the workshop, and we're going to proceed. We're going to get a City Hall built sooner or later, in some form.
Hope I'm alive.
Assistant Chief, it's your turn.
4 years.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. September was a pretty busy month. We had music in the park. Everything went well. It was a great turnout, and we had no incidences. We've done our annual evaluations with the police department. We're at full strength right now with full-time officers, and everybody seems to be happy with each other. All the officers seem to be good now. We got 4 new body armor vests, which were sized and ordered, and they're on a 50/50 grant, which is being taken care of now. The chief was able to purchase some uniforms through Gov Deals. The uniforms are valued about $5,000. After shipping and everything, he got them for about $1,000. So those he's started distributing already, and it's saving quite a bit of money on that. He completed a 4-year traffic study and submitted that to the state, which provided the state with enough to give us a radar, which was free of charge to the city, and it saves us about $2,000 to equip another vehicle. The evidence room weapons, when cases are disposed of, there's a state statute that requires us to dispose of the weapons in a certain manner, which is to turn them over to the sheriff's office. We've completed going through all the old cases, which is for quite some years. Those weapons have now been turned over to the sheriff's office, and we're compliant with it. We had no real monthly training other than Police Law Institute due to all the things that was going on through September. Most of the time our training is on Thursday nights, and of course we were using just about every officer we had at Music in the Park. It's picking back up, as a matter of fact, this Thursday. Total work hours are here. We had 9 misdemeanors listed, 5 felonies. The details is down there. I can answer any questions y'all have on any of those. I would like to add a little bit of clarification on one. We had a hit and run involving a pedestrian there at the El Governor, involving a blue truck where the mirror was taken off. We are still looking for information constantly for that to identify that driver. The young lady has talked to me a couple of times. She's doing well, but she's got a few more things she's got to get taken care of. The total calls for service we had for that month was 250. I added or the chief actually added, a study on the back of your packet for September 14th, and for September 2014 and September 2015 to show the differences in call volumes and our cases. Calls for service naturally are up for 2015, so is reports, warnings. Citations are down in retrospect of what it is, but arrests are up. If we've got no questions for the police report.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We've got this burglar fugitive fellow that's been around. Has he been caught yet?
No, sir, he has not. He is still being sought after. The U.S. Marshals is part of it now. They've got a warrants task force that's actually up and look for him. He has multiple places he stays, including Jones Homestead, Howards Creek, Highland View, Fort St. Joe, so he's got quite a few places. One of the things he is doing is he is going into houses or buildings that's left unsecured, and he spends the night in there. Where he keeps getting clothes from, I'm not sure, but we find them normally a day later where somebody's seen him coming out and they call us a little bit later. That being said, y'all make sure you lock your doors on your sheds and everything else. Try to make it harder for him to get in. There was something else. Last time I was here, we had a discussion about the crosswalk at at Toucans, where the signs were malfunctioning. I was keeping up with that. DOT has actually completed week before last. They replaced the signs with new neon signs, and the lighting has been replaced with 4 LED strobes on both sides. They work a lot better. Everything's working great. Now we just got to get everybody to use the crosswalk.
Do you have anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
I have one thing for you.
Yes, sir.
Several people have asked me about a change in the speed limit in our 35-mile-an-hour zone to 40 over the winter. That used to happen. Will you ask DOT about that?
I will ask them. One of the things that they done the last time when I was still with Bay County Sheriff's Office that they discussed is the continual changing of that was actually a speed trap to some point, because most people are used to it one way, and if they have it at one speed and then drop it down and people don't really catch the sign so much, they were being caught where it's always been this speed for this many months on time, and now we're getting caught speeding. So they made and at one point I think it was 45 down to 35. Instead, they come up with a medium speed of 40 miles an hour and just left it at that until you get into the congested areas.
Okay. And I know that is the one street that the police chief does not have the authority to change the speed limit.
Correct.
It is a DOT function.
Everything on 98 is DOT. We can ask them, but that's all we can do.
Just ask them. I'm not advocating it.
Yes, sir. I will ask.
I had a lot of citizens that asked me about that the last month.
No problem.
Before we go to the next, did I miss something that Jeff's comments about sending a bid out and the residents next to where the city hall was going to be built? Did we say that we were going to just wait until the next workshop to discuss that? Or did I miss something?
City Hall
It's,
project.
yeah, it's in our packet, and I didn't know whether we were going to talk about it now or just wait until the next workshop.
I thought it was the workshop. We were
Okay.
going to talk about it.
That's
I know
fine.
Mel has been in contact with Mr. Foley,
Okay.
and he's receptive to what the
Okay.
council has decided.
That's fine.
Mr. Hall?
I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I know there's been some complaints about, time constraints, so. We did get the sewer rehab project finished in September, right there at the end, but it is done. Nothing special happened. We used 8.910 million gallons of water for that month, with the average flow being 297, the max being 0.427. The garbage has went down considerably. The incinerator only got 72,020 pounds, or 36.01 tons. Waste Pro got 206,520 pounds, or 103.26 tons. We have hauled 9 truckloads of yard debris. There was a lot of the time, a majority of that month, the debris truck was broke down, so we weren't using it. We were hauling debris, just not out to Overstreet. We were using our little dump trailer and just bring it to the yard and stockpiling at the yard until, plus we had Mr. Mark Garrison pick it up twice for us. Other than that, that was pretty much the month of September for us.
I have a question, Phil.
Yes, sir.
You say we finished the refurbishment of the
Sewer project.
sewer boxes?
Rehab, yes, sir.
This was for the infiltration issue?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a way to determine how much we're saving in capacity because of completing the project?
I mean, the entire system hasn't been gone through. This was just a few manholes and lift stations. I think 4 total, or out of 30 or 26. I couldn't possibly answer that question with any certainty, but what I will tell you is this. While since this project started, we've had to do a couple of jetting projects. I had to get SIS out to come jet a line out for us that was constantly clogging up. Couldn't figure out why. The actual sewer line itself, it's called a sweep, was installed backwards, so we couldn't get our camera down there to find out what was going on. So we had to call a company out, AAG, who had a robotic camera that went down the sewer lines. Well, what we found is that every single sewer line that taps into that line is either busted, broke, roots grown into it, and you can just see the water pouring into the sewer line from their taps. But it's on our side. It's the city taps that are all busted and wore out. So while even if we get all of our lift stations and manholes and things like that serviced and relined, we have a whole nother animal that we have to deal with all these sewer lines that we found out is a bigger problem. This was just on 22nd Street.
And that should be regular repair and maintenance.
Well, regular repair and maintenance, if you don't see a problem there, if you don't know that there's a problem there, I mean, these lines are 12 feet deep.
Right, I mean, now that you've discovered it, this kind of becomes a repair and maintenance issue for us now.
It does,
When
which,
you find it.
unfortunately for us, we're gonna have, there's 2 options to fix, the way to fix it. We either A, contract it out, which I would hate to see us do because it's just more money, or we invest in trench boxes, something where we can safely dig that sort of a hole, set these boxes in, and can safely go down and work. And I personally have worked in the holes 10 to 12 feet deep without trench boxes, and I can tell you this with absolution, it is not fun. It is very dangerous.
It's also a violation of OSHA.
Yes, sir.
You said we've rehabbed 4. I thought we budgeted the Price Mill, we were rehabbing 11 or something.
We done several manholes and rings. We replaced a bunch of those, but there was only a few of the actual relining projects. 4 relining projects.
4 was all you had to do, or?
4 for the beat line.
Okay. But you did other repairs to other manholes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we're going to be monitoring percentages from last year and this year.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Because there is a way to get to, even though we know we've got other problems, you can see the improvements.
Yeah, if I could just find our records from that particular point.
Anything else?
No, sir. I believe that's it. I think we had a good month in September, and keep on trucking.
I have a question if I'm permitted.
Please.
On
Can
the
you come up now?
trash.
Can you come up where everyone can hear you?
Charlotte Howard. I live at 103 North 28th Street. I have some debris where I've cut limbs and things. How long before they come by and check to see if there's anything that needs to be done, or should we call someone to pick that up, or what?
It is always best to call if
Okay.
you have a pile set out. If you just throw something out, and wait for us to come by, it's gonna be a while.
Okay.
We have one day, which is Wednesday, that we focus on yard debris. We had the guys out today, and we're gonna have 2 more guys out tomorrow. It's always, I urge everybody who I talk to, it's always best to call, that way we have it on paper, and we can say, well, this person is called, obviously they want their stuff gone, and, whichever end's got the most, that's the one we focus on.
Okay. I thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Welly.
You have your financial report for the month ended August 31st. Revenues are actually over the projected 106%. Expenditures are 94%. There's a couple of the things on the bottom part I just want to go over just to explain the large fluxes from what we have. First one's going to be licenses and permits. When we adopted a budget last year, we never anticipated boat launch fees, and those are in there. That's why that one's higher than projected. Intergovernmental revenue, that's your oil BP money. It's part of that. Also, miscellaneous revenue you're going to see is way over, and that's going to include that $50,000 from the CDC. On the bottom, the biggest flux you have is we budgeted $77,000 in capital. We're currently at $336,000. That's the stormwater project. That was grant funded. That's passed through, so that's why that one's so much over. Other than that, everything looks like it's going to come in pretty close. After the Songwriters Festival, our accounting friend will be back to work with me again starting next week to close out September and the fiscal year, and the audit should be starting end of November, beginning of December.
We did not budget to repair the dredge, but we had $50,000 from the CDC for that purpose left from last year. Is that the money that we're looking to use to repair the engine and the pump on the dredge?
It very well could be, is the answer.
That it wasn't.
It wasn't designated as such by the CDC.
Yeah, we would, I understand. We need to vote to use that money for that project if we got to have the dredge repaired.
Yes, sir. The intent was to make a budget amendment when we determine what exactly we're going to do for repairs.
Yeah, I understand Phillips is ahead of what I'm talking about right now as far as price and scope of the maintenance.
Yes, sir. And I spoke with Detroit Diesel Friday, I think it was, and they explained some things to me, a bunch of technical stuff, but long story short, there's a really good chance that we can come in under the $28,000, which was originally quoted for the rebuild. Still waiting for Mr. George to come on down and see us about the pump. But barring something that we're just not seeing, the pump is still going to come in under what we're expecting to have.
So these are not cosmetics, but these are mechanical fixes and preventative maintenance on the dredge.
Yes, sir. This would make this dredge 100% functioning, no issues as far as that concerned. It'll just still look like a rust bucket.
Okay, and you told me also about the pipe y'all cleaned out. I'd like you to tell the council what you did to that too.
Pipe is wide open. We spent roughly 4 days. We dug down on it, cut the pipe, tried to blow it out, constantly tried to blow it out. Finally got in contact with City of St. Joe, had their jetter truck come out, popped it open in about 15 minutes. So, lesson learned. We'll move on from that. We know what to do next time. God forbid we don't want it to happen again, but chances are it will happen again. But it's open. As soon as we get some things worked out with the dredge, I don't feel comfortable. I don't think it is nowhere near ready for us to move to the west side. Even if we woke up tomorrow morning, it was perfectly flat, no wind blowing, I still wouldn't want to take it over to the west side. Too many issues right now.
What can we do to fix those issues?
The motor and the pump.
That's all it is.
We're working on that right now. The rest of it's just cosmetics. You look at it, it looks terrible, but it'll be a perfectly functioning dredge. Get the motor rebuilt and the pump rebuilt.
Rust over it.
Yeah, I guess, well, let me ask, because the last time we talked about this in the budget workshops, we said we're gonna hold off on doing anything with the dredge because just repairing the things on the dredge still isn't giving us what we need to
get the job done. And I thought we said we were gonna hold off and see what happened with the grant for bypass, the sand bypass system and just sit tight until we had answers there before we did anything with the dredge. When did we change that direction?
Well, part of the answer was we can't buy equipment with that grant.
That's right.
Right, but we have a dredge that we already know is getting the job done. It doesn't have the size, I don't know if it's engine or pump, but we can't make it do what we need it to do. And we said as a council, we were gonna hold off until we heard from this and we had more of a big picture as to what we needed to do. Because I think with this dredge, if we throw $100,000 at it, it's my understanding we're just putting lipstick on a pig because it still doesn't do what we need it to do, even if we rebuild the motor and rebuild the pump.
What happened was maybe, this might have been 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago tops, we were out there dredging at the mouth of the canal, and as they were pumping sand, they were pumping, we had a slurry going through the pipe. Snout down, sand moving, dredge just shut down, just completely killed. Black smoke poured out the exhaust. Turns out, luckily it was a fairly simple problem, got it fixed fairly quick. We, believe it or not, actually had parts, spare parts sitting on the shelf. Fixed it, fired it back up, was able to clean the pipe out before it had enough time to settle out. After that happened, went directly to Mel, went directly to Adrian, started brainstorming, looking at, we have to do something because this motor and this pump right now is too unreliable. If it decides to just quit, we have absolutely no contingency plan to open it back up or to fix it. So once the motor quit this last time, in the middle of dredging, I ran a plan by the mail, went to talk to Adrian about the money situation. This is going to be, right now, this is our only option as far as I can tell, because we can't buy equipment with the grant money, is at least get the motor to where we can maintain the mouth. Not worried about the west side right now. We just want to keep the mouth open. Once they do what they're going to do and we figure out what we're going to do from there, great, but at least we can keep the mouth open this way. We can keep boats coming in and out.
Where they didn't ask my permission or concurrence, I totally agree. The canal has got to be maintainable for navigation at least, whether we can move the sand way down the beach or not. It's not fair to say it's not doing its job. We've been open for 6 years with that dredge, so we certainly got to maintain it. We've got to keep it going.
So what's changed since the council made the last decision is we feel like it's not going to continue to run if we don't replace the motor.
Well, I mean, we talked about that before. I made it very clear that I have no faith in this motor holding out very much longer. Absolutely none. It wasn't until the motor quit a couple weeks ago that it just, we have to do something. We have to do it now. I was hoping we could get through the rest of the season, the rest of the year, because we're coming up on the point now where we can go and dredge every single day if we want to. Right now, if we don't absolutely have to dredge, I don't think we should fire that dredge up and be dredge unless we absolutely have to, because it's just too much. The water that pours out of the packet sleeve gland on that pump, it, could very well sink the dredge. I mean, it's just, everything's wore out. I mean, we have to do something. I've talked with Mr. George, the company who built the pump, who maintains these pumps. He's coming down to come see us. Detroit Diesels, we've talked with them several times already. Once we get a for sure idea of what we need to do 100% after talking with the pump man and the motor people, we'll come back to y'all and say this is what we suggest.
Is the rebuild going to increase horsepower, like with a turbo?
No, sir.
Who's Mr. George? What's his?
Mr. George Sheehy. And I hope I am pronouncing his last name right.
Yeah, can we put this on the workshop agenda and talk about this more?
I think that's a great idea.
I don't think that we're solving a problem.
If we do nothing, we're creating one for sure.
Well, we already have a problem. We're not creating one, we have one
If
already.
the dredge goes down, we're gonna have a bigger problem.
Well, if the dredge goes down, we may have to rent a dredge. But, I mean, we have to talk about this more because if this, we're talking about $50,000 to $100,000 we're gonna be throwing at that, and.
We're talking a 60,000
And we're
max.
not repairing any of the sheet metal, we're not repairing the issue where the guy running the dredge can't get out. There's an issue, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're not fixing on that dredge, and that's a lot of money.
I don't disagree at all.
I think we need to talk about it more and make sure we all understand what we're doing.
Okay. We'll put that on the workshop agenda. Mr. Spagilski.
Thank you, Your Honor. First item is to remind the board that we'll be talking about some of our fees in the next few months. Now that it's the off-season, the request was to bring up some of our fees from time to time for review to make sure we're charging enough for the public. Other item is our records plan. Now that we have our part-time employee who has started, she is familiar now with what needs to be kept and what manner and whatnot. We had her scanning in all of our minutes from the past few years of our meetings. Right now, she's finished, and in 2008 through 2013 is already scanned in. Our software to make that searchable will be in sometime this week or next. Then that will create a situation where when somebody has a request for previous minutes, it's searchable, it can be done almost instantaneously. That'll save us in an inordinate amount of time. So we're going to focus on that first because we get more requests for that than anything. Once that project is finished, then she'll move along to taking a box out of the shed one at a time, and with our help go through all those to make sure that we either scan the documents in and destroy them properly through state requirements, or file them away in the proper file system. Right now, with the exception of our building department records and things of that sort, we don't really have a real central filing system. In other words, each person has file cabinets in their own room, and when we need something, we have to go to someone's office to get them, and that's really not the way to do business. So the intent is, once we get the new city hall built, if we get the city hall built, we'll have a place for those central files, and that way they're more available to everyone. And so going through all those items, then she'll help us get a records management plan before the council for your review here in the next few weeks. Also, I really have to point out that the city council gave the administrator the authority to hire and fire people, and I suspect that's because the administrator is the one who works with the employees and can better judge their performance for reasons other than political reasons. We need to talk about the code enforcement officer. There's a small number of citizens who constantly pick at city council members that they don't think our current code officer should be employed by the city. Code enforcement officer Stengel is currently a roommate and close friends with from Minnesota with our city clerk. Some view that as nepotism or a breakdown of ethical behavior. One determining factor of ethical employment issue is that if two employees have any authority over the other, the city clerk works directly for the city council. I have no authority over the city clerk, and the clerk has no employees. So there are no potential nepotism or ethical issues there at all. When we were looking for a code enforcement officer, we started with the traditional mode of advertising internally. The city clerk was not involved in the process at all, except for placing the advertisements per my direction. There were 3 candidates for the position. All 3 were interviewed, and Stengel was far and away the best candidate. Knowing there was some external political pressure, we decided to advertise for external candidates just to cover our tail politically. We advertised in statewide magazines, local newspapers. There were no candidates as a result of that advertising. Stengel was given the position during the interim period that ended at the beginning of our fiscal year on October 1. And though learning on the job and training to become certified as a code enforcement officer is forthcoming, Stengel has shown he will do a good job for Mexico Beach. Outside of a core group of citizens, the feedback I have received and witnessed is that Stengel is professional and courteous in his interaction with the public. That is tough to do when people are generally unfriendly toward code enforcement officers. Stingle has been involved in the ESU for some time now. Due to the recent departure of the ESU coordinator, Stingle was asked to take over the coordinating duties until we decide where to go with that position. Since Stingle has taken over that responsibility, we have had 0 ESU shifts that have gone unfilled. In fact, we have more people wanting shifts than are available. Stingle should be commended for doing his multiple duties well against unrealistic expectations. There was a request for information and communication among our staff, consultants, and developers for the hotel recently, in which I did nothing on Monday and part of Friday and Tuesday, but search for and copy information to fulfill the request. That is not a good use of my time when the details will be coming out anyway, when our staff is finished when getting our ducks in a row. The implication was that staff does not have the right to meet privately with developers or their team. Staff absolutely has the right to meet with developers. Our job is to work out the details so that the boards and the public can make their informed policy decisions. For instance, the overwhelming opinion of those against the hotel is that it is bigger and denser than the El Governor Motel. But in fact, the El Governor, the club, Paradise Shores, and waterside condos are denser than the proposed hotel. The El Governor, the club, Paradise Shores, waterside condos, the summer house, and the villas are taller than the proposed hotel. It is absolutely my job to treat each developer with respect and provide assistance to get their project to the boards for the board's up or down vote based on the facts and not political pressure. If there is no trust in what we do, then folks, we have trouble. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Are there any announcements?
Yes, sir. Give you an update on the red tide status. Obviously, it's here. Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of people coughing, hacking, things like that. It is considered high over there across from Lighthouse Keepers Road and Selma Street, which is right there at our back door. I just want to let everybody know to be very cautious going down to the beach. There are a lot of symptoms, some severe. If you get in the water, you could possibly get. If you have respiratory issues, please do not go, period. Other than that, I would like to ask the council one thing. Last week, we had one of our guys in the road department picking up the beach. He was stopped by a gentleman on the beach who was complaining about the red tide, wanting to know what the city was going to do to get it going. If there is at any time a complaint, a comment, a compliment, whatever it may be, please feel free, 648-5700, please call me. Do not cuss my guys out on the beach, on the side of the road. I don't care where you are. Treat them with respect. They do nothing but treat you with respect. I ask for that in the same. You can cuss me all you want. That's my job. It's my job to take it. It's not theirs. So please, if you have any issues, please call me, come see me, whatever it may be. Just do not do it to them.
Other announcements? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, boys and girls. Pretty good tonight. Spending too much money. $2,500 in pocket change.
Thank you, sir. That's true.